Red Badge of Courage, Story 2, Danger Ahead. The regiment continued to carve a path through the woods. They had been marching a long time. Many of the men had grown tired. Still, they laughed and joked. Henry was sure that he was the only one who was worried. He wished he was aboard a wagon, headed home. The regiment was passing a farm. Suddenly, a fat soldier decided to get a horse for himself. He planned to put his backpack on it. Aboard it. The man headed for the farm. The others watched as he guided the horse. They saw a young girl appear outside of the farmhouse. She started after the fat man. Taking hold of the horse, she began to fight with him. They all had a good laugh when he came back without the horse. At nightfall, the men set up camp in the fields. Henry wandered away from his regiment and lay down in the grass. He no longer had to save his thoughts. He would make good use of this quiet moment. The young man was feeling sorry for himself. He thought about his life at home. Milking the cows, doing farm work, seemed like the great American dream to him now. Henry began to carve a small piece of wood. He was deep in thought when he heard the sound of footsteps. Turned his head, he saw the loud soldier Wilson appear in the night. "Oh, Wilson!" called out Henry. "Well, hello, Henry. What are you doing out here?" "I'm thinking," answered the young private. Wilson sat down and took out his pipe. "Henry, you look sad. What's wrong?" "Oh, nothing," Henry breathed deeply. "Jim Conklin says we'll be seeing a lot of fighting this time. I think he's right for once." Wilson grew more excited as he went on. "We've got the enemy now. We'll beat them this time." "How do you know you won't run when the time comes?" asked Henry. "Run?" said Wilson. "Never. I'll fight to the end." Henry questioned Wilson about his brave words. In a short time, Wilson had grown angry at Henry's smart talk. "I only said I'd do my part," answered Wilson in his angry voice. Before Henry could say another word, Wilson was gone. Their talk had only made Henry feel more alone. He walked back to the tent where Jim Conklin slept soundly. It seemed like hours before Henry fell off to sleep. The next day, the regiment moved on to a new camp. The tired men slept until the gray dawn. Henry was awakened by a kick in the leg. He found himself running down a road with the others. He heard the sound of guns. The firing was not very far away. The young man was frightened. He wanted to run but couldn't. Henry was boxed in by the men around him. All through the day, they wandered back and forth in the same woods. It seemed like they had no direction. At one point, the regiment had to break up to stay clear of a dead man's body. Was this the American way? Flashes of gunfire could be seen ahead. Smoke clouds hung in the blue sky. The noises of battle became louder and louder. Men were running with guns. More army regiments were arriving. Henry and the other men were getting closer to the battle. The young man watched as the men in the lead moved out. He felt as if he were in another world. A heavy hand rested upon his arm and brought him back. "It's my first and last battle, boy," said Wilson sadly. His face was white. There was sadness in his eyes. "What do you mean?" Henry shouted above the noise. "I just have a feeling something is going to happen to me. I'm going to be killed in this fight. I want you to save these things and give them to my family." Wilson handed Henry a small package and walked away. Henry wondered if he ever understood what had just taken place.